Your property is now under our jurisdiction. Those 7 words are the first thing I read that Tuesday morning, standing in my kitchen with a half-finished cup of coffee. The letter was typed on plain white paper. No seal, no logo, no signature, just the name Michelle Ashford, HOA board president. A title that meant nothing to me because my house sat outside the HOA. I had verified that before signing a single document. I had checked the county plat, the deed, the boundary survey, everything. But someone clearly believed they could rewrite reality with bold text and intimidation. The letter demanded $250 a month, claiming I was benefiting from tax advantages tied to aesthetic maintenance. The wording was legal-sounding nonsense. But what struck me most wasn't the amount, it was the certainty, the confidence. Whoever wrote it expected compliance. That's when I understood. This wasn't confusion. This was a test. I had bought the house in August, a small, slightly shabby 3-bedroom at the dead end of a quiet suburban street. The price was $20,000 under market value because the yard was overgrown, the fence was leaning, and the previous owner had let the place go. But I didn't care about curb appeal. I cared about quiet. As a freelance writer, I needed space, and this little patch of land past the HOA border felt like freedom. No committees, no violations, no one dictating what color I could stain a fence. For the first few weeks, I convinced myself I'd found the perfect escape. Then the letter arrived. It cracked something inside the peace I'd built. Something cold. Something that said, they picked me on purpose. I drove to the county recorder's office that same afternoon. The woman at the counter, Estelle, was brisk but kind. When I slid the letter across the counter, she raised one eyebrow, typed for a minute, and turned her monitor so I could see. My property glowed in pale blue on the old county boundary map. The HOA border sat 30 feet away from my fence. Separate, clear, permanent. No amendments, she said. No pending updates. No extensions. Nothing. She printed the official map and circled my lot in red. I walked out with the map folded in my jacket pocket, but an uneasy thought followed me. If the facts were on my side, why was someone pretending they weren't? At 9:17 p.m. that same night, a metallic clink snapped me out of my thoughts. I pulled my curtain aside just in time to see a black SUV idling at the end of my driveway. No headlights. No movement. Just a dark shape watching my house through the rain. Then, without warning, floodlights on its roof flared on, drenching my yard in harsh white light. My property lit up like a crime scene. 10 minutes. No movement. No explanation. Then the lights cut. The engine rumbled. The SUV pulled away. I snapped a picture of the license plate, my hands steady only because I forced them to be. This wasn't random. This was a message. I locked every door in the house. 3 days later, another envelope arrived. Final notice, past due. This time, the tone wasn't fake formal. It was outright aggressive. They claimed I had ignored official correspondence, and failure to pay would result in legal action. But it was the second page that took my breath. A map, not the county's. A forgery. Someone had redrawn the HOA boundary to include my house, cleanly, professionally, but not perfectly. The drainage ditch was missing. The fence post marker wasn't shown. And when I held the paper against the light, the pixelation gave away the digital tampering. Someone had created a false map to extort me. That crossed from harassment to crime. I drove straight back to Estelle. She compared the forged map with the official one. Then she checked the metadata of the county's digital copy. Created 1998, she said. Never modified. Then she checked the forged one I brought. Her expression hardened. This file was created 3 weeks ago, she said, and whoever made it used photo editing software. Her voice dropped. You understand this is federal-level fraud? Yes, I understood, but I didn't know who else was involved or how far they'd go, so I didn't file a criminal complaint yet. Not before I gathered more evidence. Because now it wasn't about property. It was about uncovering something rotten. That night, I dug into Michelle's social media. She posted constantly. Neighborhood events, rule reminders, photos of homes she labeled as violations, and passive-aggressive rants about maintaining property values. But buried in old comments were hints of something else. Fear. Resentment. Stories no one dared say directly. I dug deeper. For families had moved out in the past 3 years, all living near the HOA border. All had sold quickly, quietly, and below market value. One former resident on an anonymous forum wrote, "She doesn't fine you to enforce rules. She fines you to break you." Another, "We left because fighting her drained our savings." A pattern was forming. Michelle didn't enforce rules. She weaponized them. I wrote Michelle a calm, factual email. I attached the real county map and asked her to withdraw the letters and cease contact. 2 hours later, she replied, "The map we use is an updated internal version," she wrote. "Your property benefits from HOA landscaping and is assessed accordingly. Failure to comply will result in a lien." She ignored the real map. She ignored the law. She doubled down. I printed the email and added it to the growing stack of evidence. This wasn't about money. This was about control. That night, rain tapping on the windows, I laid every document across my table. The original letter, the fake map, the second notice, photos of the SUV, screenshots, timestamps, county records. A timeline formed, a system, a strategy. Michelle expected emotion. She expected fear or anger. She didn't expect meticulous documentation. That would be her mistake. I searched for lawyers specializing in real estate conflicts and HOA abuse. One name stood out: Preston Halstead, boundary and HOA litigation. I emailed him. He replied within an hour. "I've seen this before. Let's meet tomorrow." For the first time in days, I slept lightly but with purpose. At dawn, I went outside for the newspaper and froze. A thick steel chain wrapped around my gate, locked with an industrial padlock. Someone had trespassed onto my property while I slept. No note, no explanation, just a chain. I called the non-emergency police line. 2 officers showed up. They glanced at the chain, glanced at me, and lost all interest. "HOA issues," one said. "Handle it in civil court." They didn't take a report. They didn't investigate. They didn't help. The system wasn't on my side, at least not yet. So I handled it myself. Bolt cutters. 20 minutes of grinding metal. Proof added to my evidence pile. If anyone asked later, I had every piece. Before calling the lawyer, I dialed the number printed on Michelle's letters. She answered on the 4th ring. "This is Michelle." I didn't bother introducing myself. I told her about the chain. I told her I had photos. I told her locking someone's gate was illegal. Silence. Cold. Calculated. Then, her voice, smooth, dangerously calm. "We're ensuring community safety. Your vehicle has been obstructing sight lines." "My house isn't in your HOA," I said evenly. "Our updated internal boundary map says otherwise," she replied. "If you wish to challenge it, feel free. The process typically takes months." Not a threat, a promise, a game she thought she'd win. She didn't realize she'd already lost the moment she put her crimes on paper. As I ended the call, something inside me clicked into place, not fear, not anger. Resolve. Michelle believed she could intimidate me into surrendering my rights. But she underestimated 2 things. I documented everything. I wasn't alone anymore. Tomorrow, my lawyer would see the evidence. And once the case entered legal channels, Michelle couldn't hide behind fake maps, vague threats, or internal HOA documents. She thought she controlled the board. She thought she controlled the neighborhood. She thought she controlled me. But she forgot one thing. Power collapses the moment someone stops being afraid of it. And I wasn't afraid anymore. I gathered the documents one by one, placing them neatly in a binder. Letters, photos, maps, email threads, video timestamps, county confirmations, the broken chain. Evidence doesn't lie. People do. When I closed the binder, the rain began again, a steady rhythm against the roof. The same rain that fell the night the SUV watched my house. The same rain that blurred the false borderline she drew on the map. The same rain that reminded me. This wasn't the end. This was the opening move. And tomorrow, I'd make mine.